Today, we're going beyond the latte factor and learning how eliminating recurring expenses can save you a ridiculous amount of money. I'm talking tens of thousands, maybe even more. And not just decades from now, but right now, today. And also right now, I'd like you to locate the like button on this video, find the subscribe button for my channel, and let's get started saving you a lot of money. The latte factor is a concept popularized by author David Bach in his book called The Latte Factor. It's the idea that if you take a regular expense in your life and cut it out and invest that money instead, it could grow over decades to some eye-popping amount. The example Bach uses of an expense that could be eliminated is a $4 latte. But you could substitute any recurring and discretionary expense in your life. Bach even has a calculator, which I'll link to in the video description, where you can play with the numbers yourself. Let's look at his daily latte example using his own calculator. Now, if we eliminate a $4 daily latte expense and invest that money instead at a reasonable 7% return, that would grow over 20 years to $64,043.16. That is an impressive amount for that money to grow to. And the point with this example is that money saved regularly can compound and grow to a large amount over decades. Einstein might have said once that compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe, or something like that. Anyway, the power of compounding is real, and the latte factor is a real factor. But decades is a long time from now. And besides, maybe we enjoy that daily latte. So is it worth not being able to enjoy them for 20 years to have a bunch of money when we're older? Well, maybe. But what if we could use the latte factor idea to move the needle right now? That is, the very second that we decide to cut out a recurring expense, boom, we've already saved ourselves thousands. Well, we can do this using the perspective of financial independence, because from a financial independence perspective, cutting out a recurring expense gives you the instant benefit of no longer having to save for that expense. To understand how this works, we first must understand the 4% rule, which is a popular rule of thumb in the financial independence world. And the 4% rule helps us estimate how much money we need to be financially independent. The rule says that we can withdraw 4% of our investments to meet our annual living expenses each year, and very likely will not run out of money. We can start by withdrawing 4% in year one, and then adjust that amount for inflation each year, and very likely never run out of money. And there's an easy way to determine the amount of invested funds you need to start with. You simply take your annual expenses and multiply by 25. That's your financial independence number. For example, if you need $40,000 to live on, well, you'd need to save $1 million according to this rule. That's $40,000 times 25 equals $1 million. And you can play around with this 25x rule to see how changes to your expenses drastically change the amount you need to save. For example, if you spend $30,000 per year, you need to save $750,000. If you spend $100,000 per year, you need to save $2.5 million. So being frugal and lowering your expenses has a massive impact on how much you need to save for financial independence. This 25x math is great for targeting your own personal finance independence number based on your own personal annual expenses. And we can take the 4% rule or 25x rule. We can take that same concept and apply it to monthly expenses and even daily expenses. For a monthly expense, multiply the expense by 300. Let's call this the rule of 300. And this tells you how much you'd need to have invested to pay for an expense every month when you're financially independent. For example, a $100 monthly expense equals $30,000 less that you'd need to save for financial independence. Well, what about a daily expense? For a daily expense, you can multiply the expense by 9,000 instead. Let's call this one the rule of 9,000. For an example of this, let's return to that $4 latte. Eliminating a $4 latte is $36,000 less that you'd need to save for financial independence. Thinking about it this way, from a financial independence perspective, changes everything, doesn't it? By eliminating a recurring expense, you can instantly eliminate the need to save for it. And a financial weight lifts from your shoulders just like that. Not only that, but the latte factor still applies. You can take that money that you're no longer spending on daily lattes and invest it instead. And now you're making that money work for you, growing it over the decades through the power of compounding. Now let's put it all together by combining the Latte Factor with the 4% rule. Now with the Latte Factor, if you eliminate a $4 daily latte and invest that money instead at 7% for 20 years, that would grow to $64,043.16. And with the 4% rule, if you multiply that $4 daily expense that you no longer have by 9,000, that comes out to $36,000. And remember, that is an instant savings because you no longer need to account for that expense to reach financial independence. So your total savings with the Latte Factor savings and the 4% rule savings is $100,043.16. Now that is truly impressive. This is the double benefit of eliminating recurring expenses. 1, you have more money to invest, and 2, you instantly need less for financial independence. Now this double benefit is a powerful concept, and I hope it motivates you to save even more. Still not convinced? Well, let's look at an example of a monthly expense. Now, cutting out a $100 per month expense and investing that money instead at 7% would grow in 20 years to around $52,000. Pretty awesome. Now, I'm sure if I did that, me in 20 years would be really pleased that I was able to save that much extra, and it would help me reach financial independence that much faster. But what can that decision do for me right now? Well, it would also have the instant impact of $30,000 that I no longer need to save for financial independence. A $100 monthly expense times 300 is $30,000. And between the long-term compounding and the instant elimination of a monthly expense, I've saved $82,092.67. You see, when you have a financial independence or early retirement mindset, you understand the power of compounding over time, but your focus is on a much closer time period compared to most people, maybe 20 years or less. And the instant impact of eliminating expenses has a much bigger impact on how soon you can retire or reach financial independence, however you want to look at it. And the reason is that you simply need less to fund your lifestyle. I think that if you're going to make a sacrifice, such as cutting out those daily lattes or whatever that $100 monthly expense was, it's much easier and more motivating if you can move the needle right now. And now, with these rules in mind, you can. All right, that's what I have for you in this video. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos on saving, investing, and early retirement. Thanks for watching.